July 3rd, 2014. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 51 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting next to me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
How you doing, Mike? You going to be able to get through this?
I'm going to try and get through this.
All right. It's going to be a little rough for you, maybe?
Yeah, I've got a bad back,
Yeah.
and it's given me fits the last few days.
All right.
And everyone's saying, oh, too much standing at the craps table, which that's not it.
No, because they have seats out at the Harrah's Resort, right? So, all right. Well, let's jump to it. One of the, last episode we talked about our trip to Las Vegas, and one of the things we forgot to talk about was the concept of buying the 5 or 9 as opposed to placing them at the craps tables. We had gotten an email from Todd a little while ago about it, where he was talking about going through the math and showing that, sure enough, if you're at a casino where they collect the VIG only on winning wagers,
right,
that buying the 5 or 9 was better than placing them.
Yeah, if they collect it up front, it's not a winning bet.
No, if they collect the VIG up front, then you might as well just place it. So we said when we went to Vegas, we were going to try to do that, try to buy the 5 and 9, because in Las Vegas, you pay the VIG only on winning bets, right? Like when you buy the 4 or the 10. So we were at Caesar's Palace, and we asked them, we asked one of the dealers, do people ever buy the 5 or 9? Could we do that? And he said, no, not really, because on the 5 and 9, they collect the VIG up front.
Yeah, just the 4 and 10. They collect when you win.
Yeah.
The others, they collect up front.
Yeah. So it is different. I don't, it's kind of silly,
right?
But I guess they did that just because 4 and 10 have traditionally been the buy numbers.
Right. Oh, they'd probably like to get rid of that if they could.
Well, maybe, although the dealer told us, you remember, that they've completely gotten rid of the buy lammers.
Right.
The little buttons. They don't even have them at Caesar's Palace anymore.
They just assume everyone's buying
That's right.
When it's the proper amount.
Well, I think any amount, actually, because when you think about it.
Really, even a $10 bet?
If a $10 bet, right, is going to pay 20, right? And then you'd pay $1 VIG, so it would be 19, basically, 19 to 10, right?
Right.
So that's better than if it were a place. I'm assuming we didn't try to, just buy it for 10.
Yeah, I was assuming, though, that they would pay it as a place bet for a 10, a 15, and then when it got to a $20 bet, then they would buy it.
Right. I guess I would argue, hey, I want to buy it for 10.
Yeah.
So if it hits, give me $20 and I'll give you $1.
Right.
Right.
19 instead of 18.
Yeah. Even though it's more than 5% when you're betting 10, it's still better than a place bet payoff.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I wonder about that. We didn't ask about that.
No. But, we did get the answer pretty solidly.
Yeah.
They got rid of the buy buttons. There's no reason to buy any numbers other than the 4 and 10.
Right.
And it's just assumed that when you do bet on the 4 and 10, it is automatically a buy. So.
We should have just bought the 5 and 9 occasionally. Sometimes place it, sometimes buy it, just to piss
That's
off.
right. Oh, you don't have buy buttons, huh? Well, I want to buy it.
Yeah,
well,
I'll buy it.
Sir, you might as well place it. It's a better bet.
No.
Don't tell me how to play.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, there's a lot of stuff we should do when we go to the craps table that we don't. We'll have to talk about it.
They have to bring out lammers. It'd be funny. The guy probably has a drawer there. Here they are.
That's right.
These dicks need lammers.
All right. Well, let's jump to our voicemail hotline. Don't forget, give us a call on our voicemail hotline. The number is 951-292-4377. Or if that's too hard to remember, which it is for me, I always have to have it written down.
Yep.
Just remember 951-2-WAGERS.
951-2-WAGERS.
Give us a call. Talk to us about anything gambling related or anything else for that matter.
Yeah.
Let us know how you're doing.
I've got a lot of opinions if you want them.
Well, let's jump to the voicemail. We got a call from our friend Ed.
Hey guys, it's your friend Ed in New Jersey. When you guys were down here in Atlantic City, you were trying to learn to play Pai Gow tiles. I was wondering if you've ever got proficient in that or mastered it, and if you're playing to this day. All right, hope to shoot craps with you guys again one of these days. Be well.
All right. Well, the simple answer is no.
No, not really.
Not at all, basically.
Yeah.
They don't, there are no places close to us that deal Pai Gow tiles.
Correct.
I think there's some up in L.A.
Right.
But
all the San Diego got rid of them.
Yeah.
In the past they've had it.
Really? You've seen them? You saw
Yeah, they
them?
used to have Pai Gow tiles at Viejas, remember?
gosh.
They had like one table of it.
Really?
Yeah. Years ago.
Okay.
I'm talking years ago.
All right. Oh, boy, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was years ago when Paul and I were going out there regularly.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, we did not keep up on it. When we were in Atlantic City, listener Jim helped us kind of at the Pai Gow tiles table. He knew what he was doing.
Right.
I mean, it was like second nature to him. He could see 2 tiles and immediately, know what he had, or 4 tiles rather, know what he had.
Know the best way to play it.
Best way to play it. He even knew, an advanced basic strategy on it. And, we had just kind of learned it and we're having some fun with it. Right. And Ed came up and he was watching and, he wasn't familiar with it either, but it was the kind of thing that it was fun. But again, it's so complicated that since we have no way of playing it here anyway, no, we haven't kept up.
It's funny. People always tell us that about craps. How, I'm it's kind of confusing. There's too much going on. And how do you know what's going on? And blah, blah, blah. Craps is like playing, Old Maid.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it is so much easier than Pai Gow tiles.
Well, plus with craps, it's not like you need to know everything at the craps table to play it.
Right.
Right. You could just be taught the pass line.
Right.
And that's it. Or the field.
Yeah,
and
there are
that's
some
right?
nuances to the tiles that you have to remember.
Yeah.
You just have to remember.
That's right.
They don't make sense.
That's right. That 2 tiles are a pair and they don't look like a pair, right? And they're really good when they're together. But if they're apart, then they're super bad. There's so many different rules. Well, we didn't keep up on that. So anyway, Ed, we look forward to seeing you again too and playing some craps.
Yeah, and we should say we did like Pai Gow tiles.
I
kind of enjoyed it for the brief time we played it.
Yeah, and I got an app that we actually practiced on the plane trip over to Atlantic City. So, we weren't completely dumbfounded by the game, but, under the pressure of the casino lights, it's like, it took us a little while to, figure out exactly what we had and what we needed to do.
Maybe I'll get you a set of Pai Gow tiles for your birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. And then
to go to Gambler's General Store and they'll look at me like, what the hell?
No, do that. Get that. They're probably expensive.
I know
and
they
then
are.
I'll bring it out on card night.
Yeah.
Say, what's your game, Mark? And I'm going to say, Pai Gow tiles. Here you go.
Here's the rules.
Does everybody understand it? Because anytime you introduce a new game at poker night, it's always good to explain the rules. So here's how you play Pai Gow tiles. So everybody's got it?
The week before, just give them a handout. Study this. Next week, we're going to play a lot of Pai Gow.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You pay the same price, just like normal. So a few weeks ago, we were playing craps, which listeners probably know we do quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I was just getting tired of lose.
Yeah, we had been on a losing streak for a while.
Yeah. So I turned to you and I said, Mike, I'm sorry, but I'm going to switch over to the don't.
Yeah.
You said, all right, do whatever you need to do. Because typically I won't, I'll play don't pass, but not when I'm with you. Because you don't like playing it. If you're betting on the pass, and I'm not going to bet against you, basically. Right.
We like to play together. And people were shocked. Several people made comments about that.
I know.
Well, aren't you two together?
Mike, what are you doing?
Like we're twins or something. I'm like, and the funny thing is I don't mind it all that much because a lot of times we both win.
Oh yeah, if everything is coordinated correctly, it's possible to win no matter how both sides to win.
Or we can both lose, or one or the other.
But I started playing the don't, and you actually, when I decided to do it, you went off to get something to eat.
Yeah,
and so I played for a while, and it was perfect timing. I was just winning like crazy. So I've been doing that a lot more regularly. Now, when you get the dice, I'll usually switch back to the pass line.
Right, and when you roll,
same with when I roll.
You usually roll from the pass.
But I've been betting a lot more don't, and it helps my self discipline because when I'm betting don't, it's like okay, I bet at every roll. I bet don't pass or don't come every roll, and I don't deviate much. It's like here's how much I'm betting, and then when I win, I collect. When you're betting, pass line and place bets or come bets, sometimes you'll increase your bet. If somebody's, got the dice for a long time, roll's going real well. And, even though you can make a killing, if, the person continues to roll, really, when you're pressing those bets, you're risking, more. And in the long run, you're going to lose more, of course. So it helps keep me, disciplined at least.
Right. Well, did you You remember that this last weekend that Mr. Wynn asked you at what point were you going to stop making don't come bets?
Oh, that's right.
Because there was a good roll.
Yes.
And your don't come were coming down. And he just wanted to know, like, your strategy. Like, are you going to do, like, after 4 losses, that's it? And Mark's answer was, when I run out of money.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? It's like, I don't believe in, a hot roll, right? If you're in the middle of a hot roll, it doesn't mean it's going to continue to be hot. And it's like, no, I'm betting the don't. I'm just going to continue to do it. Now,
it worked out okay for you.
Oh, it did. I did fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with setting a limit. It's like, okay, well, if a guy has the dice and he's repeated 3 or 4 numbers, then I'll stop.
Right.
But yeah, I figure, I'm just going to keep playing. And if I run out of money for this session, then that's
eventually there's going to be a 7, either a 7 out or a 7 on a come out after he's made a point.
Yeah.
And you're going to collect all those bets.
Yeah.
So, and you still may lose because you may collect less than you actually put out there.
Right. After,
but it's still going to offset a certain amount.
Anyway, that was what I was doing. So this last weekend, we went to Harrah's Southern California Resort, and it was extremely crowded because they were giving away $1 million that night.
Yeah, it turns out a lady, this is what I heard, and I don't know this for sure, but the dealers were saying the lady who won was just a regular player. She wasn't a 7-star diamond or anything, just a regular player, 90 years old.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, that's what they said. 90 years old.
Well, that's kind of a good story.
Yeah, from Escondido. Yeah, our kids will love it, right?
I actually am glad to hear that it wasn't a diamond or a 7-star, even though we are.
Right.
Just so it's like, okay, everybody has a chance, right?
Yeah. Well, they just pick one name at random, right?
Well, but just to let listeners know, this particular drawing, the more you played, the more entries you got.
Right, yeah.
So, it was more likely that somebody who was 7 stars or diamond.
Yeah, I had 120,000 entries.
And what does that mean?
Yeah,
how many
what does that mean?
I
don't know what that means. And you had what, like,
I don't know, 11,000, 12,000.
Yeah, and this lady probably had 12 or something, right?
I hope she did.
Yeah, I mean.
So it was very crowded out there, and so they only have 4 craps tables, and they were packed. And they had raised their minimums. They had 2 tables out of the 4 that were $25 tables.
The first time I had ever seen a $25 table there ever.
Ever, right.
Right. They're usually 5s and 10s.
So you actually had been there a couple hours before I showed up.
Right.
So I got to the table and I said, well, Mike, 25, that's a little steep for me. I don't know if I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. So
it goes quick. You need a bankroll.
Oh, yeah.
For a $25 table, you have to have a bankroll.
Yeah. So then you offered to buy half my action.
Yeah.
Just say, Mark, play however you're going to do it. Pass line, don't, whatever. Play like you normally do. And I'll just buy half your action. It's like, okay, well, that helps. Then it takes some of the sting out of it. So
yeah, it's half your loss.
Yeah.
And consequently,
half my win.
Half your win.
Yeah. So that's what we did. So as it turned out, we both won.
Yeah, playing 2 totally different ways.
Yeah. Sometimes it was because there was a real hot roll where somebody made 4 fire bet numbers.
Right.
And his timing was perfect. He rolled a 7 whenever it was the come out. Right. So I would win all my don't pass and don't come bets.
Right. And I didn't lose any of mine.
Right. You didn't use, because you had place bets up there, right? And which are off on the come out. So it was perfect timing. I actually made money betting
that
the don't.
roll we both won big on.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Mark had made a fire bet.
Yes.
So he won a fire bet.
So I won the fire bet too, right? Yeah, exactly. So it was one of those very fortunate occasions where we were betting almost supposedly opposite of each other, but we
not
both
quite opposite because I'm betting all the prop bets too.
Right, you're doing all the stupid prop bets.
And I won a lot of money on stupid prop bets.
He did, especially at the end. It was so funny because it would be the come out roll, and he'd have like a horn bet. And it'd be three craps, and I'd win my don't pass bet, and then you'd win, your horn bet.
$240 on my horn bet.
And then there'd be, another, like a 12 followed by another 3, and yeah. So.
Yeah, and earlier in the night, we had 2 fire bet winners, both 4 numbers. I rolled the first one earlier. It was before you got there. Yeah. And I made 7 points.
Jeez.
And won the fire bet, and I rolled like 4 or 5 hard 6s. So I immediately jumped up, quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that did help in the long run get me through the night.
Well, speaking of the don't, so here I'm playing, and here's what I was doing. I was betting $25, don't pass, don't come every roll, and then I laid single odds.
Right, just single odds.
Right. Normally I would do like full odds, but my bankroll, I didn't want to risk that much on a $25 table, even splitting it with you.
Well, that's an important fact because you have to realize what your bankroll is.
Yeah.
And you're starting off with, $600.
That's what I bought in for.
Yeah. You take full odds, you lay full odds, you're going to have your 600 out there on the first shooter.
Oh, yeah, because it's 3, 4, 5 times odds.
Right?
So anyway, so I'm doing that. So, what that means is, like, if I go behind, my don't come goes behind a 6, then I lay $30 to win 25.
Right.
And if it goes up behind like a 5 or a 9, I would bet 45 to win 30.
And 4 and 10, you'd bet 50 to win 25.
Right. So here's what happened. Anytime I would have one of my bets go up to a 4 or 10, I'd give the dealer my $50 lay bet. Okay.
So you have 75 total dollars out there laying against a 4 or a 10.
Right. So if the 7 comes up, I'm going to get $25 for my base bet, the don't come bet, and I'm going to get 25 for the odds, right? Because it's 1 to 2 or 1 to 2. Right. So, for the $50 that I bet, I got a quarter. Right. So again, I'm risking 75 to win 50. So as I'm doing this, and I've got, 75 behind, Lorenzo, one of the dealers out there, he says, Mark, he's
a regular craps player too, not there.
Yeah.
He can't, but there's another casino nearby that my brother sees him at all the time. And he plays a lot.
Yeah. He says, Mark, what you should do is, if you bet 75 on the don't pass, and then it goes up to a 4, well, you'll win 75 if a 7 comes up. You'll get more money. Right. Plus, you're a 2-to-1 favorite.
Basically, just don't lay odds.
Yeah, that's what he's saying is why, risk 75 to win 50 when you could be risking 75 to win 75.
Right.
Well, that's all well and good.
If you knew a 4 and a 10 were coming.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the thing. Even though I know Lorenzo, when a dealer tries to give me advice on how I'm playing, I like to not really get into a discussion with them. Because, I know what I'm doing. Right. I know the math. Right. And what's the point of arguing with them? Because they're coming from a standpoint with like, hey, I deal this game. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And plus, when it comes to some of this math, it's how do you argue with that? Right. It might be a pretty lengthy explanation.
Well, his theory is based on partly what he sees day to day and partly intuition. Because intuitively, that makes sense.
It seems like that would
makes
more sense that, if you have 75.
But if you work it all out and you figure the math, it's not quite as clear cut as you would think.
Well, the problem is that come out roll, right? If I'm risking 75 on don't pass or don't come and a 7 comes up or an 11, then I lose 75 instead of 25.
And when you win it later, you only win 75.
Right.
So they kind of negates each other as opposed to losing 25 and winning, say, 50 later.
Yeah, so I don't want to, we're throwing around a lot of numbers, but let's say, I put 75 on the don't pass, 7 comes up, I put another 75, 11 comes up, now I'm down $150, I put another 75, it goes up to a 4, and a 7 comes up. Well, I've lost for the roll.
Right, you've lost $75 for that roll.
Where, I would have broken even, or close to it if I had, done it just 25 with single odd. So anyway, we kind of went back and forth and I said, well, because he said.
And I think at one point he did acknowledge that, you're worried about the 7s and 11s on the come outs. Or in the middle of a roll, an 11 right in the middle of a roll.
Well, right, because I'm making the bet every time. Right,
that 11 in the middle of the roll kills you just as much.
Well, even the 7 at the end of the roll.
And the 7 at the end of the roll, right. And so he did mention that, you can't worry about that is what he said.
That's right. Well, and, when he's explaining to me, he's saying, you'd win 75. And I said, I understand, again, not wanting to argue. And he said, well, if you understand, then why aren't you doing it? So here's something you could go through the math, right? But of course, ultimately, the less you're risking on the don't pass, the lower that, the not the house edge, but the take is going to be from the house, right?
Right.
So, all right. So here's what I did just for grins. I ran a 2,000 hour simulation. Okay.
And we play about 4 to 5 hours a weekend.
Yeah. Right.
So that's like, 20 weekends, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's half a year of play for us.
Right. So, and again, this is just a simulation and anything could have happened, but I figured I'm going to go 2,000 hours and I kept track of 3 different ways to play. Okay. 2,000 hours, same rolls of the dice, as if 3 people were playing on the same table. Okay. If I had played Lorenzo's way, that is betting $75 on every roll on don't pass or don't come, taking no odds. After 2,000 hours, I'd be down $86,700. Okay?
Yeah, theoretically.
About 86. Yeah. Well, this was the one simulation I did.
Right.
Theoretically, it could be something different, but I just ran a simulation, all right? If I had been the person who was playing my way in this simulation, I mean, the way that I did the other night, right? With 25 and just single odds, that person would have lost $16,080.
Yeah. So, gosh, what is that? 20, about a fourth.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, right.
About a fourth of less.
If I had been betting $25 with full odds, I would have won $22,975 after 2,000 hours.
It's the full odds.
Yeah, it's the full odds. Now, of course, all three could have been losers. This was just one simulation that I did. Right. But I'm not claiming that, taking full odds, you're going to win. What I wanted to just show is how different these results are.
Right. Which is interesting because, and I was telling this to Mark when he told me this, you can run simulations on all different kinds of ways to play and get such varied results. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it is so, and I was telling my wife, if I knew the rolls, if I knew the next, 5,000 rolls, I could tell you exactly the way to play to get the most money. Not knowing the rolls, I can't tell you.
Of course not.
I mean, there's really no, and people think there's some system. People always asking you, well, when are you going to quit? Like there's a certain number you're supposed to quit on or something. Right. No, you can't. It can come out so different.
Yeah. The only thing simulations are good for, well, if you run very large simulations, it should come close to the theoretical, loss.
Yeah, your standard deviation is going to get smaller.
But I do like to see comparisons of different ways to play to compare. And I thought this was interesting too. And it's funny because we got an email from a listener, Mark.
Well, wait, before you get into that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say we need to make a movie called Lorenzo's Way. Isn't that great? That'd be a good title for a movie.
That'd be good, I guess. Yeah.
About a craps guy. He has this system.
Lorenzo's Way?
Yeah, he has this system and then his life gets all screwy because of it or something.
All right.
Things happen.
I like that.
Lorenzo's Way.
Lorenzo's Way. And then maybe somebody would rent it thinking it was Lorenzo's Oil. Yeah, that old movie, right? And they'll, plug it in and say, oh, that's
it'll be the first movie people say, oh yeah, there is a movie about craps called Lorenzo's Way.
Lorenzo's Way. All right. It was just sort of coincidentally, we did get an email from listener Mark who was talking about how he plays and how his buddy plays. He says that his buddy, makes don't pass and don't come bets, but he doesn't take odds because it seems counterintuitive. And it does. There have been a lot of discussions about, hey, why should I now lay odds that are going to pay less than even money when I'm getting even money for my base bet and I'm a favorite to win.
Right. Well, it's just, it's the 4 and 10 really that get me. It's like putting twice as much out as you're actually going to win.
Yeah. All I can say is, do the math. And it turns out, that it's a better way to play. Now, I will say this. Ultimately, if you're going to bet the same amount on pass line or don't pass anything, it doesn't matter in the long run if you're taking or laying odds.
Right.
If you're just going to play the same amount, $5 on the line with or without odds. But, and we've said this before, don't bet 25 on the pass line and not take odds when you could bet 5 on the pass line and take full odds.
Yeah.
Put more money on the bet where the house has no edge.
Right. For beginners, that's really a critical thing because you see that all the time.
Yeah.
You see it with some experienced players. Every once in a while we'll see that.
Yep, exactly.
Like thinking, what are they thinking?
Yep.
The guy's like getting down to his last $80 and he puts it all on the pass line.
Yeah, right.
What? Why not just put 10 on there and put the rest as odds?
Right.
If you're going to put it all there anyway.
Right. I
guess you're giving up that 7 at the beginning.
That's probably it. Maybe they're thinking, hopefully 7 comes up and then I'll walk away. I mean, you could argue that. But now I think it's definitely if you're going to be playing there a long time. That's a better way to play. So, all right. We got another email from listener Barry. And let me just read it to you here. Said, I played a session of craps last week and had a lot of fun. Lasted about 2 hours. I started with about $100 and walked away with about $330. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's a great way. For a couple hours of entertainment.
Yeah, anytime you can come away a winner. But, that's great. So he goes on, I have a few questions and I was hoping you might be able to shed some light on them. I wanted to ask you guys and get solid answers and not look like a fool, not knowing what I'm even betting on. Okay, so his first question is, if the table minimum is $10, does that mean all bets have to be a minimum of $10 or just the pass line bets? Can you still wager less in the field and on place bets? Okay, so when you see a minimum at a craps table, that minimum refers to all the bets that are not in the center of the table. Okay, so in other words, all the bets except for the prop bets.
Right.
So that's pass line, don't pass, field. Yes, the field is affected by the minimum. Place bets, come bets.
Right.
Anything that's not in the middle.
Just those
that affects
prop
the minimum.
bets.
Right, exactly. The prop bets in the middle of the table, hardways, horn bets, C&E, that kind of thing, you can bet a minimum. The minimum is whatever is the lowest denomination chip on the table.
Right. So, and that's typically $1.
Right.
So if you can have a hard 8 for $1.
Yes.
Now, if you want a horn bet, it's 4 bets. So it's $4.
Yes.
So yeah, there's some bets where it would be more.
Well, yeah, but again, like a horn bet, and we'll get to that. That's actually another one of his questions coming up. So, there are some weird exceptions, like the fire bet, again, which is not in the middle of the table. That's completely different from, that's not even affected by the minimum of the table, because you could be at a $25 minimum table.
And you could bet $1 fire bet.
But what I'm saying is the max you could bet would be like $10.
Right.
So you couldn't bet the minimum on the fire bet,
they set
right?
that lower. They're so afraid of getting burned.
Right. So there's some weird bets, side bets, where you can't even bet the minimum.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the strange things.
I wonder, I'm going to look into this next time. We're going to be at Caesars again in a few weeks. I'm going to look at that and see on like $100 table on the fire bet, what's the minimum?
I bet it's going to be the minimum that it is at all the other tables, but that's a good question.
$10?
Yeah, it's $10 at Caesars, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if they would let you go higher.
On a $100 table, you think they'd let you put a quarter at least.
All right. Let's try to remember that, because I'd be curious to know that too. All right. So Barry's second question, what are the world, horn, and other prop bets that use 2, 3, 11, and 12? Okay. So here's how it works. The horn bet is, like you said, it's actually 4 separate bets.
Right.
It's 4 individual bets on 2, 3, 11, and 12.
Just grouped together. So instead of having to say, give me $1 on the 2, give me $1 on the 3,
right.
$1 on the 11, $1 on the 12, I can say, give me a $4 horn.
Right. So typically you're going to bet a multiple of 4. Right, on the horn. They'll probably book like a $10 horn or something weird that. But
they will, because then they just put, $1.25 on each one and pay it out accordingly.
Right. But typically you're going to throw in something that's a multiple of 4. So it really is 4 separate bets. But they, since it's popular with people, they have a separate location on the table that says horn. But when they put your $4 out there, it's really as if they're just putting $1 on each one of those numbers.
Right.
Now the world bet is just a horn bet plus any 7. So now we're talking about 5 different bets, 2, 3, 11, and 12, and 7.
Yeah. And so you can give them $5 chip.
Yeah. So typically a multiple of 5. Now, the interesting thing about the world bet is if a 7 is rolled, the way the payouts work, it's just a push, because the 7 wins and the other 4 bets in the world lose.
And the 7 pays 4-1.
Right. So it's just a push.
Yeah.
Right. But those are that's the difference, the world and the horn bet. And some layouts don't have world bets on them.
No.
But I think most have horn bets.
Almost all I've seen have a horn bet area. A lot of them do not have world bets, and they just place it in a certain area.
Right. So that they know.
But there are some that actually have a spot that says world.
Yeah. A lot of them do that. It's Harrah's, like a little world.
Yeah. Harrah's has that, right?
And Barry's third question, do you recommend place bets over come bets, and why? And I actually responded to Barry already in email. This is a philosophical question with a lot of craps players is, I prefer place bets because, if you make a come bet, then the guy's got to roll the number twice, which is flawed logic. But, that's what a lot of people think is like, well, he rolls a 6 only once. I'll lose with the come bet. But if I place the 6, then I'll win. Yeah, well, what if he rolls 0 6s?
Yeah, right.
But anyway, it depends. I told Barry it's whatever way you enjoy playing.
Well, I like to tell people when we're teaching them, I like to tell people that play whatever way you want. Come bets are a little less aggressive, and place bets are a little more aggressive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if you have a bankroll and you want to be a little more aggressive, place bets. And if you're worried about your bankroll, do come bets.
Yeah.
Right.
Ultimately, if we had to give advice, it would be, make come bets because there's a lower house edge on come bets.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that, right? It goes up to a number and you take odds.
Right.
Okay. It's a lower house edge than place bets.
Yeah.
So.
And once again, if I knew the next 50 rolls, I'd tell you exactly which one would be better to take.
Yeah. And, before I started betting so much don't, when we'd be at a table, typically you'd be taking place bets and I'd be making come bets. Right. Just because that's the way kind of we like to.
Right. And we'd win and lose accordingly. Yeah. I guess, sometimes it'd turn out, I'd look at you and say, oh, I should have made place or come bets. And you'd look at me and say, oh, I should have placed them all. You know, so
it seems like usually though, what happens is there'll be like an immediate 7 out.
Right. And I'm pissed off and you're not.
Right, because I really haven't lost that much because my come bet that's out there actually won, right? Yeah, that seems to happen more than anything else.
Yeah, well, it does. And then there's those rolls, though, where, some guy rolls, every number once and then 7's out. Yeah. And you feel terrible. And I actually did okay on the roll. Yeah. And then there's the rolls where some guy gets stuck on a 9.
Right.
And, we both do fine, right?
Right.
Because he rolls 5 9s and you repeated it every time and I got it every time.
Right. So you won even though you had a bunch of bets on other numbers that never came up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Have we talked enough craps on this episode?
So. This is the craps episode.
So you want to learn a new game?
All right. Teach me a game.
Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about a game called Double Attack Blackjack.
I hear they play this out at Harrah's, Southern California.
Yeah, that's true. We just did get it here recently. And actually it's in quite a few Atlantic City casinos, but it is starting to kind of move its way west.
So is it in Vegas yet? Have you?
I know for sure it's at least in a couple places in Las Vegas.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Called Double Attack Blackjack. And the thing that makes it different, again, it's one of these Blackjack Carnival games, but the thing that distinguishes it between other Blackjack games is that when you see the dealer's up card, before you get to see your cards, you can increase your bet up to doubling it. Okay, so if you have $10 out there, the dealer shows what his up card's going to be, and you have the option of betting up to $20 now, increasing it to be $20.
Okay.
Okay, and then it kind of plays out like regular blackjack. Okay, let's get into some details. It uses a Spanish 21 deck. Okay, that is a typical 52 card deck with all the 10s removed.
So just 48 cards.
Right. Not the face cards. The face cards are still in there. Just the cards that actually
have a 10
on them. Right. Exactly. Now that, as soon as they do that to a game, it hurts the player.
Right. Sure. You're less chance you're going to get 20 or 21.
Right. So that's why they have, so that's how they're able to get around this rule where you can up your bet.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there has to be a yin and a yang, I guess.
Yeah. So most of the other rules are consistent with blackjack. The dealer stands on soft 17. That's good for the player. You can split up to 4 hands. If you split aces, you cannot resplit them. And aces only get one more card on it, just like kind of regular blackjack. But another rule difference that's pretty significant is that you can double or surrender at any time. Okay? So when you could split cards, even after splitting, you could split cards and maybe, one of your hands now has 4 cards, but it only adds up to 11. Well, at that point, you can double down.
Right.
Right?
Which is a big advantage for a player if you've got, let's say, the dealer's got a 6 up and your total cards are 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right, a 6 and a 2, and you're like, I don't want to double, really get with an 8.
Right.
And then, but then you get a 3, then you can double.
Then you can double. Yeah, so, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So again, you can double or surrender at any time. Doesn't have to be just on the first 2 cards. Now, once you've doubled, you can't double again.
Right. Okay.
Right. Okay. So, you can double, that'd be really something,
sweet.
Right? Yeah. And also insurance pays 5 to 2 instead of 3 to 2 because there are fewer 10s in the deck. Fewer cards ranked 10 in the deck. It's still a terrible bet at 5 to 2. So don't take insurance. So again, here's how it would work. You make your bet. The dealer shows his card. At that point, you have the option of increasing your bet to twice. That doesn't count as a double.
Right.
Okay, that's separate. That does not count as a double. That's just the initial can you increase. You can increase for less, but if you're going to increase, you might as well increase, the total amount that you can.
Right.
And then at that point, it plays out similar to regular blackjack. Again, saying that you can double at any time after that. That's basically it. The basic strategy, I will post a link to the Wizard of Odds page, because the basic strategy on hitting and standing and what have you is fairly complicated. It's not complicated. It's different from typical basic strategy.
Right. Well, did you mention that blackjack only pays even money?
Oh, I did forget to mention that. Yeah. Thank you. That's an important one.
It's an important one.
Winning blackjack only pays even money. That is actually
You're not
huge.
even getting 6 to 5.
Yeah, that's right. You're just even money. Thank you for reminding me that. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I will post a link to that. However, we can tell you right away, when should you increase that initial bet? And this is kind of surprising. We talked about this. And again, it's just, they're just computer runs on this.
Right, it's just math.
But you should increase your original wager when the dealer is showing any card between a deuce and an 8.
Right. So even a 7.
Yes. You'd think it'd be like deuce through 6.
Right.
But, no, it's actually deuce through 8.
Okay.
So, anytime the dealer has an ace, a 9, a face card, you don't increase. So you're actually increasing your bet more than 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And then it just plays out normal. Now, again, when you've increased your bet, then you'll get your cards, and it plays out like typical blackjack. And now suddenly, however much you have out there, that's like your base bet.
Right. So if you want to double down at that point, you got to double for
your increased
$20,
bet.
not
Exactly.
your $10.
Yeah. I think you can double for less, but if you want to split, you have to do it
the same amount
for that increased amount, right? And so that's it. So are we going to play this?
Well, yeah, we'll probably play it. My dad would love it. It's like Spanish 21.
I think so. It might be a little different. And they have like a busted side bet where you make a bet, and if the dealer busts on exactly 3 cards, you get paid. And you get paid different amounts depending on what rank card busted him.
Oh.
So if it's like a 6, you get paid more than if he busted with a face card.
Right. Because harder to do. But what about if he busts on 4 cards or 5 cards?
Then that bet loses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has
it's
to
just
be
3 card
It's just
bust.
a 3-card bust.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
But it's a separate side bet.
Right.
Also, if the dealer busts with exactly 3 8s, it gets paid at higher odds.
Oh, okay.
There's like that too. So anyway, again, I'll post the strategy from the Wizards of Odds page, and he calculated the house edge is only 0.62% if you play the perfect basic strategy.
It's not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah, we might have to try it.
We'll try it.
I hope your dad would like it. I'm hoping that they would have just a $5 minimum table, because you're increasing your bet so often, it's really like a $10 table.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
well, that may be the casino's thing, too. Have a $10 table and people, it's only $10 because you're used to playing 15 or something, right? Yeah. Oh, it's only 10. And then when you get in there, it turns out to be a $20 game.
I've seen it out there the couple of times we've been since they introduced it, and I've only ever seen $5.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the case. All right, I'm going to sit you down. All 3 of us, you, me, and your dad, we're going to sit down. We're going to teach him how to do it, and hopefully he'll win right away.
Yeah,
and
he'll
then
be all excited.
His new thing, and how come I haven't been playing this forever?
Well, he'll win while we're there. Then we'll go up and play craps. He'll stay, lose $600, and the whole way home, it's a ripoff. It's a ripoff.
It's like you're psychic. I wish you were psychic like this about the rolls on the table.
I wish I could be.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to download our app for your mobile device. You'll get access to all our episodes, quick links to contact us via Twitter, Facebook, email, and our voicemail hotline, and you'll get bonus audio. It's a little short bonus audio. It's not like a whole full other episode. It's just like you and me yapping for about 5 or 10 minutes.
Usually doesn't make much sense. Listen anyway.
Yeah, listen. The bonus audio for this episode, we talk about some of our first trips to Las Vegas. With our app, you'll also get TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. Ooh, and there's some good shows coming up. I'll show you what I generated after the show. There's a bunch of new stuff coming up this week. The bonus audio and the TV listings are only available on our app. To download it, go to our webpage, youcanbetonThat.com. And on the left-hand side of the page, click on the link that says How to Download Our App. We have a link for Android devices and another one for iPhones and iPads. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951. Did I say that right? 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. We didn't tweet this last weekend because I knew it was going to be packed.
Yeah, right.
And that, we wouldn't be able to make room for anybody who met us out there.
Busy.
Yeah. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review for us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. What else you got, Dr.
I got
Mike?
one more thing to say.
Yeah, people fast forward through that whole section just to see what you say at the very end. Yeah.
And this is it. Saw another woman's butt.
Oh, that's right.
at Harrah's Rincon Casino.
Oh, my gosh.
What is it with me and people exposing their asses to me?
Oh, my gosh. We're at Starbucks. It's like 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's like a little after 1.
And Mike says, hey, Mark, check out this girl's butt. And I'm thinking, that's not like Dr. Mike to say something like that to me. And I look over, and it's this woman kind of bent over like asleep.
Asleep on a table with her head down on the table.
Yeah.
Bent over. And her pants have gone all the way down. And it wasn't like, plumber's crack.
Yeah, it wasn't a butt crack. It was a butt.
It was the whole butt.
What is it with you?
I don't know. It's like, it's become a thing. It's like my daughter Ruby told me the other day. She said, Dad, I know what my thing is. And I said, what's your thing? And she said, I take the ridiculous and make it even more ridiculous.
That's what she said?
That's what she said. So she's going to follow in my footsteps.
I would have thought your other daughter would have said something like that, right? Because she seems wackier.
Yeah, she is wackier.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Good night.